Louisiana is located in the southern part of North America. It features vast swamplands that provide an ideal habitat and breeding ground for alligators. These top predators have no natural enemies in the swamps. In early 2010, due to the uncontrolled population of alligators in Louisiana, local officials organized hunting operations. These efforts to improve the local ecosystem were documented in a film. Hunters could obtain between 100 to 300 hunting tags per month, allowing them to legally hunt alligators in the swamps as long as they held a tag. Hunters could earn a year's income in just 1 month. 24 hours before the start of the hunting season, Troy was patrolling his territory and setting up traps. As a local, his family had lived in the swamp for 3 generations. The swamp had become his refuge and where he grew up. To catch more American alligators and earn a substantial bonus this season, he hired an assistant named Jack. Being locals, Jack respectfully referred to Troy as Uncle. Assisting an experienced hunter was Jack's aspiration, and he was eager to learn. Troy, who grew up in the swamp, had seen many alligator attacks. The overpopulation of these creatures led to food shortages and increased their numbers, pushing them closer to human territories. Among them were some particularly large ones. Troy had a special name for alligators over 800 pounds, calling them big heads. Hunting these giants was not only lucrative but also a personal challenge, as these large American alligators were well aware of human tactics and difficult to catch. 70 miles away, Joe and his son Tommy were also preparing for a big hunt. Joe, a local with 30 years of experience, planned to go hunting with his adopted son. Tommy's biological father, Joe's close friend, had passed away, and Joe had stepped forward to adopt Tommy and take on their financial burdens. This rare brotherhood had lasted for 20 years. It was time to teach Tommy how to hunt alligators. Their task for the day was simple: set traps in preparation for hunting the next day. The traps, made with strong nylon ropes attached to the shore with fish hooks and bait, just needed 1 night. The next day, they would check the traps one by one. Eager to succeed, they planned to set up 30 baits, keeping the hooks a few centimeters above the water to avoid being bitten by carnivorous fish like piranhas. They hoped for a successful night, as alligators mostly feed at night and would be attracted to the scent of the rotting bait. Time flies in the swamp. On the first day of alligator season, the sun slowly rises, marking the start of hunting in Louisiana. Troy and his assistant Jack were ready at dawn for this day. They quickly reached the spot where they had set the first bait the day before. The water was muddy, indicating movement below. Rather than recklessly grabbing the line by hand, Jack used an iron rod with a barb to probe the water for the target. The alligator, touched by the spike, finally showed its head. A premature grab could have provoked an underwater attack from the alligator, which could result in severe injuries or even death. To handle these creatures, the duo was equipped with shotguns aimed at the head, requiring intense concentration. Fortunately, Jack's good shooting skills paid off, and he successfully took down the first alligator with 1 shot, a promising start to their hunt. 110 kilometers away, Joe and his stepson, Tommy, began checking their traps early. 1 trap was set under a leaning stump on the bank, making boat access difficult. They had to disembark to retrieve the alligator. Although the alligator was not yet visible, Joe, experienced and observant, noticed footprint and a tense fishing line. He quickly called Tommy, who was still unfamiliar with using the gun. Like Troy, they used an iron rod to probe the water to ascertain the alligator's position. However, a disagreement arose when Tommy loaded only 1 bullet into the handgun and missed the shot. The gunshot enraged the alligator, which attacked Joe. Fortunately, the alligator was relatively small and less powerful. Joe narrowly avoided the attack. Seeing the revolver was out of bullets, he urgently asked Tommy to fetch his shotgun. The mishap with the small alligator was embarrassing for Joe, a hunter of 30 years. He insisted on no such mistakes, even from his son, which led Tommy to fully load the revolver, a task that should have been done before they set off. 80 kilometers to the west, a man named Edwards, a formidable hunter and Troy's old rival, aimed to outdo Troy this year with his son Willie. Despite being lean, Willie was tough and had been hunting in the swamp since his childhood. Now an adult, he was learning his father's techniques. They used a special piece of equipment, a homemade triple-pronged barbed hook, which increased their chances of successfully pulling up an alligator 3-fold compared to a single hook. Meanwhile, Troy's team had already caught 6 alligators, but he was not satisfied. The season's rules required hunters to tag every alligator that took the bait, even the young ones, which were not as valuable. This meant using up valuable tags on smaller catches, which could end a hunter's season once all tags were used. Troy had hoped for bigger catches, considering the long break since last hunting season. However, today did not meet his expectations. Unlike Troy, Edwards and Willie did not set traps but used their boat to locate large alligators on the surface, attempting to catch them with their triple-pronged hook and finishing them with a shotgun. A spiked triple hook left little chance for escape. Still, spotting a big alligator from a small boat required luck as alligators instinctively avoid boats. Another simple method to catch large alligators was to find them basking on the bank, but this tested the hunter's shooting accuracy. Missing a shot could mean hours before another sighting. In the United States, there is a profession that ranks among the most dangerous in the world, yet its earnings are consistently among the highest. These are the swamp hunters of Louisiana. As alligator hunters, Edwards earned $1,430 from a single alligator measuring 11 feet and weighing 760 pounds. This was just his first catch, and in 1 month, he could earn an entire year's income. Who would then question their high-paying job? Back in the swamp, the hunt continues. Joe and his adopted son, Tommy, set out on a new journey. By morning, they had caught only one small-sized American alligator. To improve their haul, the father and son decided to venture deeper into the swamp. Their entire annual income depended on this month's alligator season, and they could not afford any mishaps. Meanwhile, 70 kilometers west, Edwards and his son Willie were also not doing well. They hadn't set any alligator traps yet, and their only method of hunting was using the triple-pronged hook they crafted. This method had its pros and cons. It allowed them to choose the size of their target, but it also significantly reduced the frequency of their catches. However, luck was on their side that afternoon. They spotted a large alligator and silently approached it from behind the boat. Willie quickly threw down the triple-pronged hook, which, equipped with barbs, prevented the alligator from escaping. It turned into a tug-of-war. Willie weighed only 136 pounds, while the alligator was estimated to be over 700 pounds. The size of the beast was evident each time it surfaced. Unable to bring its head above water alone, Willie needed another triple-pronged hook from Edwards. Together, they finally got a full view of the large creature. However, their actions clearly enraged the alligator. Despite its size, it could not withstand a shotgun. A single shot was all it took to subdue it. Then, they had to figure out how to get this massive creature onto the boat. Even with the buoyancy of the water, the alligator, weighing over 700 pounds, was not easy to handle. To reduce the risk of capsizing, they called the camera crew for assistance. On the other side, Troy and his assistant Jack were using traps to hunt alligators, a method that was both fast and practical. A glance at their boat full of American alligators showed their successful day. However, as they checked the last trap, they encountered an unexpected scene. The bait was gone, and the large fishhook had been straightened. Without a doubt, only a supersized alligator in these swamp waters could have such strength. The kind Troy referred to as big head alligators. They needed to set up larger hooks in this area. After all, one large catch could equal several smaller ones and required only one alligator tag. Elsewhere, Edwards and his son Willie headed to the nearest market. Since they hadn't set any alligator traps, they were eager to find out how much today's big catch was worth, hoping to lift their spirits. Although the American alligator is not an invasive species, its hunting danger deters many hunters. There are dedicated alligator meat processing facilities in the area. The meat can be sold for cash, but the most valuable part is the alligator leather. Local alligator skins are purchased by leather factories worldwide and turned into various leather goods like shoes and bags. At the market, the father and son couldn't wait to display their big catch. They learned from the staff that the 11-foot, 760-pound alligator brought in $1,430 for Edwards. This outcome was very satisfying for Willie and his father, especially since they hadn't even started setting traps yet. Turning back to Joe and his son Tommy, they had finally reached their destination, a place rarely accessed by others. Joe surmised it was an excellent spot for catching large creatures. At their first trap, they discovered the line was taut, but frustratingly, the dense aquatic plants in the small river concealed their line. Moreover, the alligator kept moving towards deeper water, increasing the plant's entanglement. Fortunately, the alligator moved towards the center of the river when it felt the pull of the line, giving the father and son a chance. With no plants obstructing their view, Tommy was ready to shoot as soon as the alligator showed its head. No carbon-based lifeform can withstand a shotgun blast, and they successfully captured the 9-foot alligator. Meanwhile, Troy and his assistant Jack, after switching to larger hooks, returned to the spot where the hook had been bent. From a distance, they could see the tree used to anchor the bait had been pulled into the water. Such strength indicated the presence of the giant they were seeking. Fortunately, the longer fishing line they used allowed the hook to remain taut, even as the alligator dove underwater. With no large stumps or aquatic plants blocking their view, Troy maneuvered to get the giant to show its head, and Jack quickly fired. The bullet flipped the huge creature, exposing its white belly. It seemed even larger than the one caught by Edward's team. Troy's team had an unmatched haul that day. Having set numerous traps the day before, they collected a boat full of alligators. Although the sizes of the alligators caught that day were generally not exceptional, the quantity satisfied Troy. Even with a limited number of alligator tags, their extensive trapping allowed them to identify areas where larger alligators were more likely to be found. After capturing the giant, they also headed to the local market to see their day's earnings. The last catch, a massive 13-foot alligator, drew a crowd. Given the 1,430 Edwards received for a 12-foot alligator, this 13-footer could likely fetch over 1,430 reals Edwards received for a 12-foot alligator. This 13-footer could likely fetch over 1,430 Edwards received for a 12-foot alligator. This 13-footer could likely fetch over 1,600 reals. Troy was in a hurry to get home, driven by his family's tradition as Cajuns. After every major hunting event, a family reunion is held where friends and relatives pray for the hunter's success and safety. Despite modern times, Troy's family has maintained this tradition. He finds comfort in these gatherings, reminding everyone to stay safe. For him, nothing is more important than family. On the third day of the 2010 alligator season, Troy had 179 alligator tags, meaning he could legally hunt 179 alligators that month. It was already the third day of the month, and from his cheerful singing, it was clear that Troy was very happy, thanks to catching a large alligator he named Big Head during the first 2 days. Alligators weighing over 800 pounds are referred to as big heads, a rare find even in these alligator-infested swamps. Today, he planned to lead the television crew to a secret location at the edge of the swamp, inaccessible by car and rarely visited by boats. The area is dense with cypress trees, whose thick stumps make navigation difficult but provide ideal hiding spots for alligators. Along with his assistant Jack, his son Jacob also joined them. Upon arrival, they noticed activity at one of the traps they had set the day before. Following old habits, they prodded with an iron rod since the alligator hadn't surfaced. The dense roots of the cypress trees, which grow above the water to breathe, indicated ample space below for hiding. Bubbles at the water's surface suggested an alligator was present. When the line tangled with roots, Troy, in a bold move, placed his hand in the water, keeping close to the roots to minimize attack risks. His experience helped him untangle the line, and the alligator, feeling the pull, surfaced. Pleased with its size, Troy prepared to target its weak spot, a quarter length from the skull where the head is less protected but rich in nerves. Despite Jack's experience, aiming accurately was challenging. Random shooting could damage the leather, reducing the government subsidy. However, mishaps occurred. The alligator thrashed wildly in a death roll, eventually shaking off the hook. The loss of this approximately 12-foot alligator meant a loss potential of around $1,400, a disappointing outcome for anyone. Turning to the Edwards team, Edwards and his son Willie had more tags than Troy's team this year, with a total of 209 tags to use within the month. In the first 3 days, they caught several medium-sized alligators. Edwards, a veteran hunter, has a steady buyer named Ricky, ensuring a solid and satisfying pricing arrangement. Today, they planned to deliver alligators to Ricky, but an unexpected guest appeared. A young man in blue, a major client from an Italian leather company and a luxury leather designer, came to experience and document the thrill of alligator hunting during the 2010 filming period. He was placed on Edwards and Willie's boat by Ricky. The temporary addition of a newcomer could disrupt the team's progress even if it was just for an afternoon. But to honor Ricky, Edwards agreed to take him along, albeit with a stern warning. If the newcomer returned missing an arm or leg, it was not their responsibility. After all, They had given enough face to the important client. Focus is back on Troy's team, who are still searching for prey in the cypress forest. Here, they found their second catch of the day hooked. From afar, the line tied to a tree branch was visibly shaking, indicating a large alligator due to the force exerted. As they steered their boat closer, they noticed clear alligator tracks on the bank near the tree stump, evidence of an excellent trap location. American alligators, being cold-blooded, rely on the sun to warm up, making sun-exposed paths ideal for traps. To avoid another instance of the hook coming loose, Troy took control of the shotgun this time. However, handling a shotgun isn't as straightforward as it might seem. The risks increase with distance. Jack, being smaller, seemed like he could be pulled into the water at any moment, which was quite alarming. This time, although the hook didn't come loose, the nylon rope snapped. Missing 2 large alligators in one day undeniably brought the team's morale to a low, costing them an estimated $3,000. It's hard to believe that an alligator could break such a tough nylon rope, likely aided by underwater stumps. It was indeed a frustrating day. Let's shift to Bruce's team, making their first appearance. Bruce operates in the deeper parts of the swamp, where the waters are broader and larger. Bruce is a lone wolf, preferring to hunt independently, usually accompanied only by his small dog, Taylor, his assistant in the swamp. Although Taylor isn't much practical help, he holds significant sentimental value for Bruce. Armed with 150 alligator tags, Bruce is prepared to complete the challenge solo. If he falls behind schedule, he might consider hiring an assistant. Known for his strong physique and solitary nature, Bruce aims to tackle all 150 tags alone. His signature move is to manage the line with one hand and draw his gun with the other, smoothly changing ammunition single-handedly, a routine for him, despite usually needing only 1 bullet to kill an alligator. After watching Bruce's efficient hunting process, where he uses a winch along with simple ropes and pulleys to effortlessly lift a 500-pound alligator, it's clear he's skilled. Every time Bruce catches an alligator weighing over 400 pounds, he rewards Taylor with either chicken nuggets or biscuits, a routine Taylor seems to have grown accustomed to. Returning to Troy's team, after clearing all their alligator traps, they returned to the cypress forest. The escape of 2 large alligators that morning had fueled Troy's determination. He felt he wouldn't be able to sleep without capturing those 2 behemoths. Upon returning, they immediately noticed another of their reset traps had been triggered, likely by a large alligator, given its boldness to strike during the day. However, initial excitement turned to disappointment after Jack prodded without any underwater response. Pulling up the rope only confirmed their fears, as they found the large hook straightened a testament to the immense size of the swamp's alligators. The hooks, made of forged steel, are nearly unbreakable, underlining the extraordinary challenge they faced. Motivated by this challenge, they upgraded their hooks from size 12 to size 15, capable of towing a car. Troy was determined not just to hunt but to settle scores, convinced that no alligator was bigger than a car. Their actions transcended mere hunting. It became a personal quest to conquer these formidable beasts. The young man in blue is named Horn, an Italian luxury leather designer. Due to the client's requirements for purchasing alligator leather in the area, today Edwards and his son Willie are taking Horn with them on their hunt. They are not thrilled about it, but for his safety, they have hired an assistant to ensure he returns without missing any limbs. It is the 5th day of the alligator season, and this trip is bound to be memorable. To give Horn a true sense of the danger of alligators, Edwards deliberately took him deep into the swamp. Seeing Horn's fearful expression adds a bit of fun to their hunting adventure. After a day and night, they checked their first trap and found a catch. The alligator wasn't very large, allowing the slim Willie to easily control it with the line, and it was quickly subdued with a single bullet. For Horn, who had only worked with alligator leather and never been so close to a live hunt, the experience was incredibly shocking. However, due to his professional instincts, he had already planned which parts of the alligator would be used for bags, wallets, etc. Watching Horn expertly segment the alligator, Edwards and Willie turned away, impressed by his skill. Even such a small alligator could be turned into dozens of leather goods. As a designer, Horn himself wore a belt made of alligator leather, viewing the animal as having limitless potential. Small wallets could sell for hundreds of dollars, but the most valuable parts, like those used for leather jackets, could fetch starting prices of up to $40,000. This revelation astounded everyone. The alligators they risked their lives to hunt could be worth hundreds of times more when handed over to leather designers. Although they grew up in the swamp, they had never seen alligator jackets, nor were they likely to meet anyone who could afford such luxury. 50 kilometers east, the formidable Bruce set out for hunting at dawn but needed to return home by noon. Locally, Bruce is well known not only as a hunter but also as the owner of a farm where he breeds animals, including turtles and the very alligators he hunts. His relationship with alligators is complex. He sells those he breeds, but it takes at least 6 years for an alligator to grow from a juvenile to an adult. This year, his hunting focus is on larger alligators, so he chooses locations in the swamp's lakes, as he already has smaller ones at home. As a well-known local hunter and farmer, Bruce is returning home today to welcome friends. His farm is a popular destination not just for those interested in alligators but also for those who come to see the turtles. Despite his formidable appearance, Bruce is known locally as a genuinely good person, always eager to help when needed. According to locals, Bruce has become one with the swamp. His life is fully integrated with nature. Meanwhile, let's check back with Troy's team. Troy has returned to the cypress forest, where 2 days ago, he suffered significant setbacks. Not only did 2 large alligators escape, but even the steel hooks were bent out of shape. Now equipped with even larger size 15 steel hooks, and having set the bait for a day and night, today he is determined to catch the ones that got away. As a hunter, having his chosen prey escape is a disgrace. Today's situation is even more unacceptable. The size 15 steel hooks didn't bend or break the nylon rope. Instead, the steel hooks themselves broke. The alligators of the cypress forest have humiliated Troy again. As a seasoned hunter, he has brought out his thickest and largest hooks, size 3 steel hooks that can easily tow a car. If these hooks break, he'll need to make several new ones. Troy estimates that the alligator capable of breaking a size 15 hook could sell for between $2,000 to $2,000 to $2,000 to $3,000. He is not about to let this big one get away. Let's return to Edward's team. Edwards and his son Willie, along with the Italian designer Horn, have just discovered a taut line. Unlike the other alligators in the water, this 10-foot American alligator was leisurely sunning itself on the shore, seemingly unconcerned about the hook in its mouth. Willie, representing the younger generation of hunters, immediately went ashore to handle the line. Since the alligator's head was obscured by a log, Edwards couldn't shoot. Someone had to wrestle with the alligator up close. Despite the alligator's size, it did not attack Willie but instead got scared and scrambled towards the water. The buoyancy of the water was advantageous for Edwards' team, making it easier to manage the line. However, Horn, inexperienced in hunting, requested to try handling the line, a risky move. His hands were dangerously close to the alligator's mouth, a perilous distance. Despite the danger, Edwards ended up using his shotgun. Although clumsy, Horn managed to expose the alligator's head above the water. The day was intensely experiential for Horn, culminating in the capture of this 500-pound beast, the largest they had caught that day. Despite the presence of the Italian designer, Edwards' team still managed to catch 11 alligators, though most were quite small, requiring the use of many of their tags. With these catches, they decided to head home early. Horn was profoundly grateful for the hunting experience, which not only brought him face-to-face with live leather but also sparked new design ideas. His company would purchase this batch of alligators. Switching to Bruce, unlike other teams, he does not follow the normal process of hunters taking their game to local buyers. Bruce owns his own alligator processing facility, making him the only hunter who can eliminate the middleman and profit from the markup. However, processing by himself takes more time. During this period, Bruce's brother Mike helps him. Bruce is truly versatile, capable of hunting alone and handling the skinning and processing. The skins are traded to government-affiliated businesses for substantial subsidies, and the alligator meat is also packaged and sold locally. Just looking at the warehouse full of alligator meat shows it's packed to the brim. For times when alligator skins cannot be delivered immediately, Bruce knows how to store them using copious amounts of salt, which absorbs moisture from the tissues, allowing the treated skins to be preserved for at least a month. Another day has passed, and it's now the 6th day of the alligator season. Troy's team is once again heading to the cypress forest. After 3 days of intellectual and physical battles with the cypress forest alligators, Troy is eager for a successful catch. To ensure the boat's arrival over the past 3 days hasn't deterred the alligators, they've refreshed the bait from yesterday, replacing the smelly chicken with fresh, high-quality beef that hasn't been frozen for long. They've also upgraded to Troy's strongest steel hooks, size 3 forged steel hooks, giving Troy 90% confidence that if an alligator bites, it won't escape. Upon arriving at the cypress forest, they immediately spotted their prey. The alligator, floating on the water's surface, began thrashing wildly in an attempt to dislodge the hook. When Troy and his assistant Jack approached, the alligator dove into deeper waters. Today, Troy was not going to give the swamp alligators any chance. He ordered Jack to shoot as soon as the alligator surfaced, even if it meant damaging the leather. Jack, eager to follow orders, fired 3 shots in quick succession. Although momentarily stunned, the alligator quickly resumed its struggle, reflecting its tough armor. Fortunately, the sturdy hooks held fast, and Jack's 4th bullet finally subdued the giant. Together, they managed to fully capture and examine the alligator, true behemoth in size, fitting Troy's definition of a big head, referring to any alligator over 800 pounds. After 3 days in the cypress forest, Troy's team triumphantly captured a significant alligator, roughly worth about 1,500, not quite the 1,500, not quite the 1,500, not quite the $0 to $3,000. Troy had estimated, but still a considerable catch. As a professional swamp hunter aiming to capture more American alligators, it is essential to familiarize oneself with the hunting grounds in advance. Tonight, Troy ventured into the swamp at midnight to explore a section that has not yet been opened for this alligator season. He wanted to assess whether this area was worth the investment. Securing this part of the swamp could increase Troy's alligator tags from 179 to 240, depending on the presence of a significant number of alligators. As a Cajun, night scouting is in Troy's blood, a practice ingrained from his ancestors who hunted at night last century. However, such behavior, especially at night in the swamp, is extremely dangerous and should not be imitated. During his exploration, Troy first discovered one of the alligator's favorite foods, a beaver, its size indicating it was thriving here. Where is prey, predators are sure to follow. 10 meters ahead of his boat, Troy spotted an alligator surfacing to breathe. If all alligators here were of this size, he would be very pleased. As Troy delved deeper into the canal, he encountered an increasing number of alligators. This unopened area proved to be rich with potential, lighting up his eyes with visions of profit. Eventually, Troy decided to bid on this swamp area, convinced of its lucrative potential given the abundance of alligators. By morning, let's shift our focus to Joe's team in the eastern part of the swamp. Joe and his foster son Tommy were also preparing their alligator hunting equipment. For today's venture, they switched to a larger boat, and to enhance their success in the swamp, Joe invited a friend named Bard, a robed man needed for handling large alligators. Bard hadn't hunted alligators in a while, and needed to regain his feel for it. Half an hour after setting out, they discovered their target. The taut lines and splashing water indicated a large alligator was hooked. Bard's primary job was to control the line, which seemed particularly thin in his hands. The alligator's explosive strength was no match for him, partly because it did not head straight for the deep waters, giving Tommy a chance to shoot. Joe's team successfully captured their first alligator of the day, aiming to fill the medium-sized boat with alligators. Let's return to Troy's team. After surveying the swampland last night, Troy eagerly brought Jack with him by noon, having already secured the hunting permits. They needed to study the map to strategically set their alligator traps. Daylight revealed even more alligator tracks along the banks than he had seen at night. Despite the abundance of alligators, the area had a critical drawback: the canal was too narrow. Even normal tidal changes in the swamp affected the canal's width, posing challenges for their boat. As the canal became increasingly narrow, Troy had to turn around, a maneuver that almost stranded them. The narrow canal meant they had to ease off the throttle gently, otherwise the boat's bow would end up on the shore. Despite Troy's efforts to reverse, the boat stubbornly wouldn't budge. The situation was tense, as calling for help would be costly. Faced with no other choice, Troy powered the boat in the opposite direction, managing to get it back into the river. They had to exit the waterway slowly but thankfully without needing rescue. To hunt in this area, they would need a smaller boat. Nevertheless, this trip wasn't in vain. Since the smaller canal was inaccessible, they set all their traps in the larger canal outside it. While the people might return empty-handed, the traps had to be fully set. They would just need to bring more trap lines on their next trip. Surprisingly, when all traps were set, and Troy and Jack were heading home, they discovered that one of the newly set traps had already been triggered by a sizable alligator. This was unexpected, as traps usually take a night to catch something. This quick catch indicated a high density of alligators in the area. Troy handled the line while Jack used the shotgun. The alligator, unfamiliar with humans and shotguns, was quickly subdued. This area, newly open to alligator hunting, proved exceptionally easy for hunting, as the alligators had never encountered humans with shotguns before. Capturing an alligator right after setting the traps was a promising sign for Troy's team.